So let's rapidly go through our starts and sits. My start of the week at quarterback for Week 10 is Kyler Murray against Tampa. This is as easy as a matchup as you're going to get. I think Kyler is going to get the rushing yards. He's going to get the receiving. If he gets receiving yards,
do it all, man. That's
if he does it all. No, he's going to get the passing yards, the rushing yards. I could see him getting a rushing touchdown in this game, maybe a couple passing touchdowns. He's going to have a good week. Saddle him up in your lineup. Matt Stafford is a sit against Chicago. This is a surprising one. A little bit surprising.
Everybody's been on the hype train.
Everyone's been on the hype train, but I feel like in Chicago, this is a tough matchup for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
And it's going to be, to me, Chicago's been keeping them in games, so their defense has been keeping them in game, keeping the Bears in games, but
unfortunately not winning them. But yes,
this is a gross 17-16.
Yeah, it's one of those things where everybody picked up Stafford. He had 3 straight great weeks, and then just all of a sudden goes into Chicago and gets 15 points. I can see it.
All right, who's your start quarterback?
For me, you said Kyler Murray is the easiest matchup. Let's stay in that game. Let's go Jameis Winston against the Cardinals, who rank so far this year 32 against quarterbacks. That is dead last in the NFL. The Buccaneers throw the ball a ton the last 3 weeks. Jameis Winston has thrown the ball 54, 43, and 44 times. He's been throwing the ball so much, it doesn't matter if he's good or bad. He just needs to be average, which he kind of is. So to me, Jameis Winston is the start of the week at quarterback. Okay. The sit is kind of like yours, a little surprising. It's actually Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
The reason why... him.
I literally have to say it like that to know how to spell it. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, actually, that makes sense. Anyway, the reason why I think it's going to be a really low-scoring game. After the week Garoppolo had 32 points, I think people are getting a little excited because before that, he really has not been a good fantasy quarterback this year. I think he's going to come back down to earth a little bit and probably get 15 points.
Yeah. I started the week at running back, David Montgomery against Detroit at home. This is a great matchup for David Montgomery. He's had 2 very good weeks in a row. This is the truth week for David Montgomery. This is where we figure out if my takes were right or wrong. Because if David Montgomery poops the bed in this game, his schedule means nothing rest of the season.
Yeah.
So start David Montgomery. I just keep saying things that make people not be like, I would, if I'm listening to this podcast as just a listener, I would not be confident in any of these right now. I'd be like, these guys are clowns. Anyway.
Then step it up, bro.
Running back sit of the week for me is Devonta Freeman against New Orleans.
Who you're probably going to start.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So
contradicting my own advice.
For me, my start of the week is Marlon Mack against Miami.
Yep.
Mack all years had good game, bad game, or not necessarily bad, but good game, average game, good game, average game. He had 15 in week 8 against Denver. He had 8 last week against the Steelers. This week, home against Miami in a game they're probably going to dominate, probably going to control if Brissett is in the game, which means Mack is going to play. If not, Brian Hoyer is going to start, which means they're probably going to run the ball a lot anyway. Miami ranks 29th against running backs. I mean, to me, this is a game where Mack just gets a ton of touches and is involved in the game and is probably the focal point of the offense. And then my sit is a guy who has betrayed me many times, so I'm just going to put him on my sit because I just don't like him right now. That's Tevin Coleman. I told you to start him for 2 weeks against the Redskins, which was a great matchup.
Okay.
And I think who was the other team? Now I forget. It was last week.
Okay.
I'm pulling it up because I'm... Yeah, it was the Cardinals. So against the Redskins and Cardinals, you think those are 2 good matchups, right?
Right.
No, wrong. Tevin Coleman craps the bed in both those games.
Right.
So I don't care anymore. I'm sitting Tevin Coleman.
Okay. Start of the week at wide receiver, Mike Williams at Oakland. Oakland gives up the most yards to deep bomb threat, whatever you want to call them, wide receivers. Mike Williams is the outside receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. So if anything, Mike Williams is going to be a great start this week. Sit of the week at wide receivers, Marvin Jones against Chicago. I hate to go with the same matchup, but I feel like the Chicago game is going to be very low scoring. So Marvin Jones, put him on your bench.
Okay. And then my start of the week is Golden Tate at wide receiver. He had a really good game last week. I mean, you saw that sideline catch he had in the goal line.
Yeah.
He just didn't. The fantasy numbers weren't great. He had like 10 points. But this week, no Evan Ingram.
Okay.
One less target. He's playing against the Jets, who rank 27th against wide receivers, and the Jets are slowly falling apart. Not slowly. I mean, they are really falling apart right now on both ends of both sides of the football. So
yeah. So I thought you were gonna say both sides of the floor. I'm like, we ain't talking about.
Yeah, I almost did. That's why I had to correct it. But yeah, I think Golden State is the start, and then the sit, if he plays, is AJ Green. People are gonna get really excited about AJ Green. They've been waiting all year for them to start, or for them to start AJ Green because they drafted him early, and they're like, oh, finally, it's been like, half the season or more than half, and I can finally play him. I'm not starting AJ Green until he proves that he can succeed in this crappy offense, and it's against Baltimore, who's a good defense.
My start of the week at tight end, Greg Olsen. We've gotten this right most of the time.
Because he has blown most of the season.
Yes. So start Greg Olsen at tight end. Sit Mark Andrews against Cincinnati. That seems like a bad idea because Cincinnati doesn't have the greatest defense in the world, but Mark Andrews is getting like 20% snap share.
Yeah.
So don't start Mark Andrews.
Yep. And when we have said to start Greg Olsen, he has done well. So for tight ends, for me, start at the week at tight end is Hunter Henry.
Okay.
Similar to why you said Mike Williams, the Raiders' passing defense has not been good, and Hunter Henry has been consistently, since he has returned, has been fantastic for tight ends.
Yeah.
He's had 10 targets last week, and the Raiders rank 30th against tight ends this season, so I could see him having a monster week. And then for sitting wise, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's Mark Andrews. I didn't even check your tight end list. So this is like the third week in a row that I have not checked your list, and we just both got the same tight end.
Got the same tight end.
I think we're the tight end whispers.
We really are.